If you are a business, you cannot afford to ignore social media. And if you are a small business, this is especially true for you. Social media helps you to find new followers and get more sales at a very affordable cost. But what happens with small businesses is that they find that social media is too overwhelming and it takes too much time. So, in this video, I'm going to give you 10 tips of how to make your social media posting easy. We're going to start with Instagram. The first tip is to really know what is the objective of your Instagram profile. Social media in general is primarily a brand awareness tool. It's relatively easy to attract a following and get people to engage with you, but it is a little bit harder to get sales. So when you're starting out, the default objective is brand awareness. On Instagram, you can get followers with the first few posts itself by using relevant hashtags, and I will talk about that in step 6. Once you've started getting followers, think about what kind of content is working with them, because your objective during the brand awareness stage is to show your post to maximum people. Focus on reach rather than on gaining followers. Once you've got 100 followers on Instagram, you will be able to see insights. So you will know the gender split of your audience, which cities they are coming from, and what kind of posts really work with them. At this point, look at what you have been posting so far. Are there any changes that you can make? Are there any posts that do better than the others? So refine your posting strategy once you've got 100 followers. To recap, your first objective is brand awareness. Once you've got 100 followers, think about what kind of content works and how you can increase your reach. The next thing to do is to check that you have an Instagram business profile. If you have a personal profile, you can easily convert it into a business profile. And if you have a business profile, let me tell you the advantages of having one. Firstly, you can add a link to your bio. This link can point to your website, it can start a WhatsApp conversation, or it can point to anything that you want. Secondly, you'll be able to add a contact button. People clicking that contact button can email you directly. This is great when you want somebody to collaborate with you and somebody wants to get in touch with you and ask a lot more questions. Thirdly, you'll be able to create an Instagram shop. Now, at the end of 2020, this feature is still being rolled out, so you may not have this feature to start off with. But if you have a business profile, this feature will definitely be rolled out to you eventually. And if you're selling products, then definitely having a shop will help people to buy a product from you through your Instagram page really easily. And lastly, you will have access to insights. I mentioned this briefly before, but getting access to insight means that you'll know what type of audience is following you. You'll also know post insight, how your posts are doing, what is their reach, where are people finding your posts from. So knowing all this will help you to really refine your Instagram strategy so that you keep reaching out to newer and newer people. Now that you've got a business profile, it's time to start thinking about what you're going to post. This is called a social media calendar. Now, don't be confused with the word social media calendar because you'll find a lot of them available on the internet. But a real social media calendar takes into account your objective and your audience. So when you create a social media calendar, it's fine to get ideas from other people, but when you actually think about what you're going to post, it's going to be very, very specific to you. I like to think of 3 things when I'm creating a social media calendar. The first one is how often am I going to post? In social media, what is most important is consistency. So there's no right answer to how often in a week should you post. You can post once in a week or you can post 7 times in a week. It really depends on you. But once you picked a format and you've thought that I'm going to post 3 times a week, stick to it. Because your followers will get used to seeing you posting on certain days and at certain times. So when you've got a social media calendar, plan out how often you'll post and what time of the day you'll post. The second thing that I like to think about is what is my persona on this platform. Now, on Instagram, normally brands prefer to have a casual persona. So you want to talk in language that relates to your audience. You don't want to come across as too formal. And also, depending on whether your audience is a young audience or an older audience, you may want to use language, colors, and kind of imagery that work with that particular audience. And the last thing to plan is the post categories that you will use. On Instagram, you can either have an image post or a carousel post or a video post. And there are two types of video posts as well, differing in lengths. You can also have a reel, or you can do stories. So when you're planning your social media calendar, try and include all types in that. Every post performs differently on Instagram. For example, a reel can reach out to people who are not following you. So you will be able to get new people to see your post, whereas other posts are only shown to your followers. So when planning your social media calendar, include every type of post and every type of product so that you have diversity on your profile. A common doubt that many businesses have is whether you should follow a grid design for Instagram. And the answer is it depends. Now, because Instagram is such a visual platform, of course you should have a feed that looks a little bit cohesive. But whether you should go in for a formal grid design or you can do something else really depends on what your product is and how much effort you want to take. If you want to go in for a grid design, there's a standard 3x3 option that people follow. Here, the format of your 9 posts keeps repeating itself. So when somebody comes to your feed and looks at it, it looks a little bit more cohesive. That's one option. The second option is to decide a few brand colors and fonts that you can use repeatedly. And all your posts will then use the same colors and the same fonts. This also achieves a similar purpose as the grid design, but frankly, I find it easier to execute. Now, if you followed my instructions so far, what you'll have is a very clear idea of what you're going to post on your social media for the next few months. Knowing this will help you to create a template for each of your posts. A template is simply a blank post that you will use over and over again. So if you've decided the colors, you've decided the categories, you've decided your objective, and you know your audience, a template is very easy to create. Get something like Canva to create your different templates. And then every time you sit down and post, all you have to do is add in the text or add in relevant images for that week's post. One of the best things about Instagram is that new people can discover you and start to follow you, and all that is done simply because you use the right hashtag. So, once you've got your post ready, you've got your template ready, you know the kind of post that you're doing. Start researching the hashtags that are relevant to each type of the post. You will be mixing up your hashtags into a specific Instagram hashtag recipe. A few of the hashtags that you use will be very, very niche. So these would be very specific to your industry and would be followed by a few people. Then the next set of hashtags that you can use are the ones that are slightly more popular but a little bit more generic. This will help to get your post out in front of more people. And finally, you will add a few really popular hashtags. Hashtags that still relate to your brand but have a very large following. These could be hashtags for your brand name or hashtags that are relevant to your topic. If you want to know the specifics of this Instagram hashtag recipe, I've written a blog about it. You'll find the link in the description below. Using the right mix of hashtags will get your post visible to new people every time. And once you've got a hashtag recipe, note it down somewhere so that every time you're posting something similar, you have a hashtag list that you can select from. Every time you should not be searching for new hashtags, you'll have a handy reference that you can look at. My next tip can be applied to any social media platform, or for that matter, anything that you do in life, because it relates to being a little bit more organized. So what I like to do is, because I know the posts that I'm going to be posting over the next 1 month or even the next week, I actually create them in advance. And this is my next tip. Create your posts in advance so that you are making use of a consolidated block of time. You will be able to create your posts in one go, and then you can start posting them when they're supposed to be posted on the platform. Suppose you have a brand that really relies on the trends that are going on. Then I would advise you that you don't create posts for more than 1 week at a time. because you want to be conscious of what is trending in your industry and you actually want to be posting about that. But if you are a brand that is not necessarily riding on the trends, then you can actually create a series of posts for about a month. So you can decide how far in advance you want to create posts for your social media platform. And the 8th tip to make your social media posting easy is to use a scheduler. As I said, if you've been following all the steps that I've been talking about, what you've got is a block of posts that you can post in advance. And if you use a scheduler, it will help you to post everything at that one time. You can use a post scheduler like Facebook Creator Studio, Buffer, Hootsuite, Social Sprout. There are a lot out there. Some are free and some are paid. Some may allow you to only use one social media platform at a time, while some may have a limitation on the number of posts that you can do at a certain time. So do your research to see what works for you. Personally, I use Facebook Creator Studio for both my Instagram and for my Facebook. So what I'm able to do is to post my entire week's content on 2 platforms in 1 hour. Remember I talked about before that having an Instagram business profile will give you access to insights for your post and for your audience. My 9th tip actually relates to using that insights. So Instagram will tell you the reach for every single post that you do. And this will help you to understand, is that post really working with your intended audience? The disadvantage of Instagram is that this information is usually provided only for the last 14 days. So as an added effort, what you'll have to do is to document the reach of every post for that particular week in an Excel sheet. It's not very hard once you start doing it and you get into the routine of it. Once you've got this information, then you can really start to deep dive and say which one of your posts was working, which group of hashtags was working. Did it make a difference if you posted on a certain day versus another day? So looking at the reach of your post, you can then fine-tune your strategy. In my previous tip, I talked about fine-tuning your Instagram strategy based on your reach. But if you have done step 1 and 2 well, where you have really thought about what your brand wants to achieve, who your audience is, and how your Instagram posts relate to your product, then you won't have to fine-tune your strategy so much. Because the objective of what you post will remain the same. The only things that will change, perhaps, are the format or the kind of post that you do, or even the day of the week. So, as my last tip, do make adjustments to the post to increase your reach, but don't deviate too much from what you have already started. If you deviate too much and you start posting something that is completely different from what you have been posting before, then your previous audience will not understand why should they follow you. This is why this is my last tip, so that you follow the step-by-step approach that I have talked about here to ensure that your social media has a very clear objective and it is easy for you to decide what kind of content you should be posting. That's it. I hope you like the 10 tips I gave you to make your social media posting for Instagram a little bit easier. If you have any questions, please do comment below. And if you like this video, please do subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time. Bye.